It's round 4 for the Samsung Galaxy smartphone, and the S4 is bigger, smarter and sensor-packed with a slew of clever tricks that are bound to impress. There's no radical or stylish redesign, so at a quick glance the S4 looks almost identical to the S3. Upon closer inspection, there are some noticeable differences. So you can expect a big Full HD screen, quad-core chip and a 13-megapixel camera, complete with the promise the S4 contains everything we never knew we needed in a smartphone. The S4 is still a big phone, but is slimmer than its predecessor despite containing a bigger battery. Samsung has rather impressively managed to squeeze a 5-inch screen onto the S4 without increasing the girth, thanks to slimmer bezels. But with its plastic design principles and raised areas on the back for the camera and speaker, it's still a slightly underwhelming first impression. At least its plastic rear is easily removed to reveal a removable battery and micro SD card slot. Now you can expect a bigger, higher-res screen and an upgrade to Gorilla Glass 3. The S4's gorgeous Super AMOLED display also rocks extra smarts, including Adapt Display, which automatically adjusts saturation as well as brightness depending on ambient lighting conditions, although it's so subtle we saw no real difference. Crank up full brightness and switch on the dynamic setting, and its almost retina-searing vibrancy will impress and prove useful in bright sunlight. The S4 can overcook skin tones though, so it's worth familiarising yourself with the screen modes. The increase to 1080p means sharper and cleaner text. Contrast is excellent too, although next to the HTC, the S4 appears to have a slight blue tinge, with the one throwing up purer whites. Now, Samsung's own TouchWiz UI remains a little bloated, but Samsung's packed its skinned version of Jelly Bean with features, widgets and apps, as well as gesture controls. Don't like live widgets like the S-Travel TripAdvisor collaboration? They can always be trashed. The good-looking watch on EPG is well worth having nearby. It asks you for viewing preferences and your TV provider before pulling in info and images so you can surf your TV options. And with the infrared blaster at the top edge, you can hit the Watch on TV button and your S4 will tune your flat screen to the required channel. Samsung is also pushing its own S Health suite. There are various widgets to stick on your home screens, and you'll find a health board for calorie burning and consuming goals, food inputting tools, your step counting progress, and a temperature and humidity graphic. The pedometer also keeps running continuously once started, so no steps are wasted. Then there's Samsung's Air Gestures and smart screen controls, which are a tad gimmicky but represent a revolutionary new era of touch-free gadget operation. Air Gestures lets you scroll up and down pages and swipe between tabs by waving your hand over the screen, but it makes you look rather daft and it's a bit hit and miss. But put in the practice and scrolling up and down web pages and through your galleries can be a satisfying experience when you're not in a rush. AirView involves less flamboyant gestures and makes full use of the sensor, which tracks your finger hovering over video timelines, emails and gallery folders and brings up small content previews. Finally, there's Smart Screen, the eye-tracking tech that automatically scrolls up and down pages as you read and pauses videos if you look away. As with Air Gestures, it's a bit patchy in practice, but if you're patient with Smart Scroll's blinking eye animation and slightly tilt the device, the S4's eye-tracking tech can be smooth and somewhat relaxing. And Smart Pause is clever but works only half the time depending on your lighting conditions, so try to avoid using it in front of a window. Since most controls are only compatible with a handful of Samsung apps, their appeal is limited. But if you're willing to exercise a bit of patience to learn a new way of communicating, you'll be rewarded with a geeky, although often slower, way of control. Now, despite testing the quad-core 1.9 GHz Snapdragon 600 version rather than the advanced octo-core model, there's plenty of horsepower. Gaming, multitasking, downloading apps and browsing over 4G is lightning quick, even when using multiple open apps and its split-screen multi-window feature. And while the Galaxy S4 will last you the day on a single charge, that 5-inch screen is extremely power-hungry, so power users may have to make compromises in the brightness and push notifications department. The S4's 13-megapixel camera is packed with tricks and gimmicks like Dual Shot, which lets you take a snap or shoot a video with the front-facing 2-megapixel camera at the same time as the rear snapper. It works well, but the same can't be said for all of its playful new modes. Eraser Shot, for example, struggled to pick out moving people, so we couldn't get rid of accidental photo bombers. But the S4's camera is right up there with the best for natural and accurate colours and incredible detail. You'll also find features like burst mode, face detection and voice control, and like the S3, it's a seriously quick snapper. You can also expect an impressive low light mode. 1080p video is also reliably silky from both cameras, but as with stills, as soon as you start zooming around, things begin to get wobbly. So the successor to one of the most popular smartphones ever is faster, smarter and sharper screened. But the S4 isn't just a phone, it's a device that's got your eyes, your swipes, your surroundings and your steps covered. At times it will prove jaw-droppingly awesome, at others you'll probably find yourself foregoing its trickery for a bit of easy prodding. It has an incredible camera, solid battery and blistering performance. Chuck in a micro SD slot for up to 64 gig of expansion, and the S4 is doing everything the most discerning Android fan could ever want. But it's got to be said that HTC One is sexier and more sophisticated, and Sense offers a less intrusive and smoother user experience compared to TouchWiz. But there's no denying the Samsung Galaxy S4 is a fantastic device with tech that paves the way for all future smartphones.